Roberts rules. Let's play hardball. Good evening. I'm Chris Matthews in Washington, and let me start with one of the great days in this country's history. Today, the United States Supreme Court, led by the Chief Justice himself, decided that President Barack Obama's Health Care Act squares with the American Constitution. All the drum beating, all the horrors floated up from the right-wing fever swamps are, as of today, simply the hate vapors of the perennial rejectionists to progress, the rear guard funded by the Koch brothers and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Today's hero, Chief Justice John Roberts, who walked to the forefront of history and said yes to progress and no to the role prescribed for him by the right. He would not be the man. He would not lead the court. He would not let the court named for him carry historic blame for denying health care to tens of millions of Americans. He would not be the ramrod for yet another right-leaning, partisan-appearing Supreme Court ruling that would have been the third strike over the plate following Bush-Gore and Citizens United. So let's start today by standing back and looking at this bold, defiant, grand decision by Mr. Roberts and his Supreme Court. He and four liberal justices upheld the mainspring of the Obama health care bill, the provision that said people have to get health care or pay a penalty. These five justices, this unlikely coalition, ruled it constitutional. Pete Williams, NBC Justice Correspondent. I want to ask you, Pete, the big question of the day. Chief Justice Roberts, appointed by President George W. Bush, why did he do what he did today?
Well, you know, we can't say that for sure. We can only look at his words. I think you have to go back to when the case was argued to say that while Justice Roberts did have some skepticism, there were also questions he asked that indicated that he might support the law. So it's not a huge stunner in that sense because he, in essence, had signaled that he might do it. I think you have to say, Chris, that this is really two decisions. First of all, the Supreme Court, with Justice Roberts joining with the four conservatives, agreed with one of the central conservative criticisms of this law, which is one of the main defenses that the Obama administration had mounted, that Congress had no power under the Commerce Clause to do this. The Constitution, remember, says Congress has the power, quote, to regulate commerce. Now, the opponents had said if you don't have insurance, you're not engaging in any commerce, therefore you can't be regulated. This is beyond Congress's power. Chief Justice Roberts agreed with that criticism, along with the other four justices. There were 5 votes for that proposition. But the Chief Justice said it doesn't stop there, because the Obama administration had made this second argument that Congress had the power under its very broad taxing authority, and that's where the chief found common ground with the four liberals on the court to say that it's constitutional. So legally, the guts of the law are left intact. The only real change that today's decision made is to the Medicaid side of the law. Right. The states had argued that by being forced to either accept all these new Medicaid requirements, if they said no, the federal government said, okay, fine, then you're out of Medicaid. And that's where the court said, no, you can't go that far. Okay, so we have a major decision by the Chief Justice who supported the president on this one, said it was constitutional what he did because of the taxing authority. Let's go to Anthony Kennedy, the usual swing vote in the Supreme Court, who basically succeeded Sandra Day O'Connor in that role. Now, I look at two decisions by him which I found profound. One was the Lawrence case, where he basically found for sexual liberty among consenting adults. And here it seemed like he was following that libertarian approach, which is, remember the old phrase, keep government out of the boardroom and out of the bedroom? It seems like he's one of those people who basically is for individual rights against a big government. He didn't go with this taxing authority recognition by the Chief Justice. I think that's a very fair reading, Chris, of what he said. And, you know, that's also consistent with the concerns he expressed during the oral argument in this case. He thought this was a vast overreaching by Congress, and he joined his conservative colleagues in saying so today. Yeah, well said. Pete, you're the best, and it's great to have you. I was watching you go through it. And by the way, I think our ties are in total agreement today, which is one of those other strange phenomena. Anyway, thank you so much, Pete.